So yesterday I went to the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley, California. It is a museum, and right now they're featuring an exhibit on Pompeii, and they're always featuring an exhibit on Ronald Reagan and his presidency. There's some very interesting artifacts there regarding his time in office, including Air Force One that you can actually go onto and walk around, and Marine One, which is the helicopter exhibit. You can get on that as well. Now, one of the exhibits was a podium with teleprompters that you can stand behind and see what it's like to be the president. I was standing behind the podium, having my picture taken, as if I were the president, underdressed for the occasion, of course, but still, as if I were the president. And when I was finished, I traded places with a young woman, a teenage girl. And I said to her, "Hey, you get to be president next." And this older gentleman, probably in his early 60s, maybe 60, said to me, "Don't you think it's about time we had a woman in the Oval Office?" And I said, "No. I don't think that a person's genitals determine whether or not they are qualified for leadership in our society." And he said back to me, "I have three granddaughters." And I said to him, "That's fine. As long as they're qualified, they can be president." It was not the time and place to get into a debate to prove this guy is an idiot. I was in a room with 20 other people milling about looking at different presidential exhibits. I can't really stand there and put this guy in his place. He obviously wouldn't want to listen anyway because he has his mind made up that without thinking about it, well, a woman needs to be in the White House. I don't see why. I don't see why not. It doesn't. It's not something that I think about going. You know what? The next time there's a female running for president, I'm going to vote for her. No, I liked what Jill Stein had to say a lot of times when I heard her talk. She, you know, I, she's somebody that I can maybe get behind, but that's not because she's a woman. It's because I liked what she had to say, right? It has nothing to do with whether or not a person can lead. Maybe it does. Maybe there is something to um, a person being a better leader depending on which gender they are. Maybe that's possible. But I'm gonna vote for a person based on what they talk about, the issues they bring up, their qualifications for the job, etc. If I think they're going to be a good president, that's what I'm going to vote for. That's what I'm going to vote for. I'm not going to vote for a person because they are a man or woman. That's not how it works. I don't know where he's getting this from. Perhaps it's from this article here from Market Watch, which says that the United States is number 10 on the list of top 10 countries for rape. They don't really state any sources. It links to RAINN, or it doesn't link to RAINN, but it points out RAINN. The I don't remember what RAINN stands for. It's something to do with sexual assault and rape, saying that the United States is number 10, the 10th highest country in the world for sexual assault. And I've looked online a lot today to see if I could find statistics regarding rape by country. Now, rape is a terrible, terrible crime. It should never happen. It's just awful. I don't know how anybody comes out of that and wants to continue living. I can't find a clear statistic. I found so many different articles. The United States is almost always on the list on the top 10. Anywhere from number 1 to number 10. It's mostly Western countries that are on these lists: Canada, Germany, France, Sweden. Countries that historically have always given women equal rights. I don't think that these countries actually have a high rate of rape. These Western countries. Maybe they do. I don't know for sure. None of these articles had a source. None of these articles listed a source. And I found articles contradicting these articles. I found articles that contradicted themselves. They were all poorly written with grammatical errors. I found articles saying that just talking about one country, the rape capital country, and it's usually a country in Africa, like the Congo or South Africa. And I gotta say, if if the United States is in the top 10 for rape, then rape is not as big of an issue as it's made out to be in the media. Because I've lived in the United States my whole life, and I don't hear about that much rape happening. It's not like there's a rapist hiding on every corner. It's not like every woman that I come across is being raped. The 1 in 5 statistic that I've heard thrown around by RAINN, even, I don't think that statistic is anywhere near accurate because, hey, guess what? I have more than 10 female relatives that are first cousin or closer. And I'm only going to count blood relatives. First cousin or closer because those are the ones that I know the best. That would be a biggest part of my particular family. None of them have ever been raped. Either that or else my family is keeping me out of the loop on some pretty serious stuff that's going on. I've had more than 10 girlfriends that I would be intimate with enough to share what's, happened sexually in our lives. Only one of them told me that she has been raped. So that's 1 in 10, not 1 in 5, which is still way too high. Don't get me wrong. That's way too high of a number. Anything above 0 is too high of a number. Okay, so I am here in the United States, not seeing a whole lot of rape. That doesn't mean that that's not happening. Maybe I'm just not privy to this information. I have been in self-help programs, co-ed group self-help programs. Most of these groups deal with trauma, past trauma. I've dealt with a lot of violence from my past and overcome a lot of post-traumatic stress problems from being smacked around a lot. And never once have any of the females shared about being raped. I mean, the point of these groups was to talk about trauma and try to work through the scars left by that trauma. I don't ever remember any women. Even some of these groups were specific for sex trauma. So I mean, it's just not. There have been women who have admitted to me that they have been raped. A few, only like a handful maybe, out of the tens of thousands of women I've spoken to in my life. And most of these women that admitted this to me, I didn't know that well. I would say 3 out of the 5, and I think it's only 4, so 3 out of 4. Yeah, so I just don't see the United States being like this big bastion of rape and rapists, and like I haven't, I'm not like hanging out with my buddies and they're talking about, oh yeah, I raped this girl. I mean, you would think that if rape were so very prevalent, as these articles are claiming, that women are being raped constantly, that I would hear about men saying, hey, I raped. Another thing that comes up is it's unreported. RAINN even says, oh, it's unreported. Those are unreported rapes. Most rapes are unreported. How can you know? It's unreported. How could you possibly even begin to calculate that? It's unreported. You can't possibly know. And some of the articles I looked at even pointed that out. This like we can't calculate these things because there are unreported. Yes, there are unreported, but you go into some of these third world countries, and you're talking about civil war and militant criminal organizations that go into towns and villages, destroy the entire town, rape and murder everybody in there, or rape and murder everybody, and rape a significant number of the people. How do you know? I mean, are you going to go through and get the authorities to determine exactly how many people were sexually assaulted that are now murdered? I mean, obviously, you see that they've raped people. Are they going to take the time to count through 10,000 bodies and go, yeah, okay, this, 2,000 of them were raped? I don't think that in a third world country they're going to, maybe they are, I don't know. But now another thing that is important about this discussion is what does this guy think that a female president is going to do? Women already have all the rights. The only right they don't have is they can't take their shirt off in public. Okay, is that really the cross you want to die on? But besides that, what's the president going to do? Make rape a capital offense now? So we execute rapists? I'm all for it. I'm actually all for it. If you have evidence that the man is, without a doubt guilty. You have a video recording of her saying no, or whoever saying no, and then the rapist continuing. You have evidence of that. I mean, you have to have like, you can't just be, because rape is often he said, she said, or whatever, he said, because both men and women can be raped. So how are you going to determine without any kind of, there is no, there's often no way of proving for certain 100% that the rapist is guilty of the crime, because it happens in private. These things often happen in private. So you're going to be murdering people on the word of somebody. So I don't know if that would fly very well in the United States. But who knows? I mean, crazy things are happening these days. There's challenges to freedom of speech and things of that nature, which I really find disturbing. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have statistics on worldwide rapes, because I couldn't find anything that was. I did find one top 10 list that came up frequently, but I couldn't find any sources. So I don't know where these sources are coming from. That's the problem. I couldn't find any sources. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I look forward to talking to you in the future.